Hi, it's Rod Sanchez here, just giving you a little bit of knowledge about cupping today. Cupping is a very traditional technique that's been used not only in China but many different countries around the world, from the Greeks, the Spanish, Turks have used some form of cupping techniques, in the past being called horn therapy or by different names. In our clinics we tend to use a lot of cupping here. Why do we use cupping? Traditionally, cupping was used for removal of evils. These evils can be, colds and flus in this day and age. But the other one is things like cold being trapped inside, or wind cold being trapped inside the muscles. Wind is discussed a lot with South American or Spanish aspects when talking about cupping. The Greeks also talk about wind being inside. The word for cupping in Spanish is ventosas, or ventusis in Greek, where the ventana is like a window where the wind can come out. So you're giving an aspect of removing, and the wind can be correlated like being a moving pain or some sort of pain being trapped inside. We also use terms like frozen shoulder, where there's cold being trapped inside, which cupping is very good for. We tend to use a lot of what's called fire cupping here, and fire cupping is where we use methylated spirits to light the. So we use fire cupping. So by that we're using the insertion of a flame into a glass as such, removing all the oxygen, and when placed on the skin will start to create a vacuum. That vacuum will draw up, creating a negative pressure. So when doing massage or doing any manual work, you're sort of pushing in and moving around. So when you push in, you're pushing the blood one way, you're moving the fascia that way, and then when you release, it comes back. Well, we're doing the opposite aspects with that. So we're going to place over the skin, it's going to draw up, and then we're going to release and come back down again. Okay, so it's as simple as creating a flame first of all, placing it inside and then on the skin. We try to do this as quickly as possible, creating the bigger pressure. So the bigger the cup, the more the pressure we're going to do. The smaller the cup, the smaller the pressure. We do have different options as well. So you can use silicone cups where we just press. There is no need for a flame. And these are great when we're doing sliding cupping as well. There is also smaller ones, so we can use silicone cups where we squeeze them. These are predominantly used for the face. As you can see, they're fairly small, so there will be not many marks or anything left. Traditionally, we could have used a bamboo, and sometimes we do. And what I'll do with these is that I'll steam it in some different herbs and then placing it on the skin as such. We have our last options. These are becoming a little bit more popular now, where they're single-use cups, and we create a vacuum by putting a little suction pump and drawing up. These are fantastic if somebody has like acne on their back, or we're trying to create what's called a bleeding technique, where we'll prick the skin a little bit and draw up a little bit of blood. That way we'll collect it all and place it into the appropriate waste on the day. Now, so when we're using our glass cupping, because that's what we use predominantly here, there's a little different types and skills that we use. One will be what's called flash cupping, so on the skin, on, off, on, off, on, off, so creating that sort of popping sound. That'll be one. The other is a sliding technique. So this is great when we're trying to cover a whole series of muscles in one go, around the shoulder, across the traps, or using the lats in that area, down the spine, or even using it down the ITB. Works really well to release a lot of those fibers. The next, which everyone's sort of used to, is what's called the static. So the static, what we'll do is we'll leave it on in a particular either area or a point that we want to use or stimulate to draw out some of that, the drawing aspects that we're looking for. So who can use cupping, and why do we use cupping? So the clients that come and see us, you can divide it into two groups. One would be acute pain and the other would be in the chronic pain aspects. And these cupping can be used for colds and flus as such. We've been using it a lot with like neck pain, shoulder pain, back pain. These are the common things that people see it for. But there is also more. I tend to use it a little bit for any sort of elbow pain, chronic knee pain, chronic lower pain, and glute pain. Cupping comes into its own. What's really important is when we're looking at cupping, a lot of people say, oh, it's those circle things that are left on the back. And it's true. There's no negating the fact that we are going to create some circle marks, possibly. The circle marks are indicative aspects that we need to use cupping. So the darker the color, the more stagnation that was in that area. So what I find really interesting is that I can place the cups on two different spots as such. Circle, circle. And they're dark, the person feels great, they come back next week, and then we do one in the middle. What's really interesting is that you'll see half moons. So where the area was cupped last week will no longer get purple. So if it's the case that we're always causing bruises, no matter what was there, we'd always have a bruise every single time on top, superseding the ones that were there before. But it's not the case. The other is that when we do cupping, sometimes we'll do the whole shoulder, it will come up black. The next one will do half as much, and the following and the following. It'll get to a stage where I can do a lot of cupping on the shoulder and it'll just go pink, and before the person's walking out, they'll be back to normal skin, indicating that there was something in there and we're drawing it out as such. So the ideas that we follow with cupping. Rod Sanchez, Sydney Acupuncture. If you're interested in cupping, please feel free to send us an email or look at our details under the video. Thank you.